Hey guys, I am Dana Jacoviello, your host of La Bella Vita and founder of Bullies and today we are here with Zeke Stokes, Vice President of GLAAD. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we are huge supporters of GLAAD over here at BKO.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that as well. Let's start off with typical type question on discuss how you became involved with GLAAD and if living a life of service and activism was something you always wanted to do, or was there something that prompted your reaction to get involved in particular?
Yeah, I've been involved in progressive work my entire career. I started volunteering on campaigns when I was in college and helping people get elected, and I made that a career for a while. And then I took a look around the policy realm, and I really wanted to be involved in the fight for LGBT equality. And I got involved with the repeal fight around Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and then overturning DOMA at the court, and then had the opportunity to come over to GLAAD and be involved in what I think is the next important phase of LGBT equality, and that is really the fight for the hearts and minds of Americans and people around the world. We obviously have a lot of policy work to do before we're equal in this country, but even if we were to accomplish all of the policy work tomorrow, it still wouldn't mean that hearts and minds have changed enough to keep a kid from getting beat up in my hometown in South Carolina for coming out, or a trans woman from being murdered on the streets of Chicago. You can't pass enough laws to stop that. You really have to change hearts and minds, and so I think that's the important work ahead of us.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100% there. Now, I know most organizations, no matter how big or small, they get some form of hate, whether it's in the form of a tweet, a post, an email. Do you guys get that frequently, or is it fairly tame, and what do you do when that situation arises?
Thankfully, I don't see everything that comes into us. A lot of it gets filtered out by other people who monitor our incoming emails and all that sort of thing. But I get a little bit of it from time to time. And it really just reminds me of how far we've come, obviously, that more than 50% of Americans, for instance, support our right to be married, so that's a huge step, and lots of other things. I try not to focus on the negative because it can really mire you in landscape that it's difficult to change, and so and we know that there's a segment of the public that is never going to believe that all people are equal or accept our community, but the vast majority of people eventually will. And so I focus on the work that's at hand, and really, the positive road ahead, not the negative people who want to keep us in the mired in the past. That's a good question, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I see it all the time, and I hear about it, and it's true. You kind of have to filter it out because you could easily kind of get stuck and go in that direction. And I completely understand what you're saying in that aspect.
Yeah. But it is a nice reminder about what we're up against, because for every person that sends a horrible email that's violent or threatening or even just non-accepting to us, there are others out there like them. But those minds and hearts can be changed. We know that when people know people who are LGBT personally, that it changes their views. We know that when they meet them through their television or film or other forms of entertainment, which is so much of what GLAAD is focused on, that hearts and minds can change. So it reminds us that there's a lot of work to do, and in some ways keeps us focused.
Yeah, it almost keeps you fighting that good fight.
Yeah.
Very true. Speaking of marriage equality, I know when SCOTUS announced a decision in favor of same-sex marriage in all 50 states, of course, the whole country celebrated, especially those part of the community and the organizations specifically geared towards that. What was your thoughts at that very moment, and did you do anything special to celebrate that?
Oh, it's really interesting that you asked that question. I was 2 years ago when DOMA was struck down. I was on the steps of the courthouse in D.C. I was living in D.C. at that time and had been working really closely with service members who were fighting for equality for their married partners in the military. I actually was at home on a sick day when the decision came down, and we had expected it to be that day because we had been sort of looking day after day at what decisions were coming down and what was left on the docket at the court. But unfortunately, I woke up sick that morning, and so I was laying in bed watching MSNBC when the decision came down. But I immediately started getting tweets and notes and congratulations on Facebook, and kind notes from friends and family, especially straight non-LGBT friends and family who were so excited to see this day. And oddly got a request to go on CNN that evening, and so I got out of my sick bed that day and got dressed and went and appeared on CNN that night. So hopefully no one knew I was actually fighting a fever and cold that night. So that's what I.
Wow, it was well worth it.
That Sunday, though, I was very well and marched in the Pride Parade in New York with the GLAAD contingency, and it was an incredible moment.
Yeah, I love the Pride Parade in New York. It's amazing. I love it. We go every year. I want to jump and discuss Catilyn Jenner for a moment.
Yeah.
I know recently in her show, I Am Kate, she went to GLAAD. From what I heard, she paid a visit. The majority is so in favor of her courage, kindness, compassion, and self-love. But of course, you're always going to have those people that are hateful and negative towards the issue. And why do you feel that it took Catilyn Jenner to make such big waves in the community, the transgender community? She just seems to be such a big inspiration to so many, especially with her show even, in a very specific and special way. Do you feel it's because of her past, or maybe being so highly publicized in a different way, and being seen in a different light, that maybe it was that much more of a feat?
I think there's so many interesting things about Catilyn Jenner coming out and who she is. But I think the thing that really sort of stands out to me the most is that this is someone America already knew. This is someone they already loved. This was an American hero that had appeared on the cover of the Wheaties box, and been an icon for athletes and sort of the personification of who an athlete should be. And really, sort of, if you look back at history, and especially the piece that the ESPYs ran before they presented her with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, she was really a symbol during that period of time after the Olympics when America had been in the doldrums, and really it was a moment of national pride that she brought to our country. And so for Americans to meet someone who is transgender, who they've known for a very long time, they just didn't know she was transgender yet, was kind of an amazing watershed moment in American history, cultural history, but certainly the history of our LGBT movement, and particularly the trans movement, as you know, and has brought a level of awareness to the issue of what it means to be transgender in this country, that perhaps no one could have without having had that platform before. That she had for so many years, and then obviously being a member of the Jenner Kardashian family and having that platform as well, just means generation after generation of Americans have known this person and have now realized that they knew someone all along who was trans. And so I think it begs the question: well, who in my life do I know who could also be fighting this same battle quietly? Who do I know who's had the courage to come out as trans? And be his or her authentic self, who now I have a new level of compassion for, because I've gotten to see someone take this journey on television in front of the world. So it really has been almost an unimaginable watershed cultural moment for the country and also for this movement. And so we couldn't be more proud to have been involved with it at GLAAD, and to have been trusted by ABC and E and the Jenner and Kardashian families to help tell their story.
Yeah, it's amazing. Watching her show, it gives you so much hope, and just it makes you see things in such a different way. And I think that she's doing something really amazing. And I think you're right. I think there's so much publicity in the different ways, and is really helping her reach different heights And I know that's what her goal is as well, is to really help and give back. And some of the shows of I Am Kate that I've seen, I've just been like floored by it. It's a beautiful show.
It's really very well produced, and what I really like about it is that it's a departure from kind of the drama of normal reality shows, and she really has used it as a platform to bring a spotlight to others in our movement who are not as advantaged as she has been. So her focus on trans women of color and trans violence and youth homelessness and all the things that even in the first 5 episodes that have aired, she has been able to bring a spotlight to. These are things that have not had this kind of megaphone in front of the American public, certainly since I've been involved in this movement, and I would certainly say ever. And so it really is extraordinary, and I hope that the attention that she has brought to the trans community and to our movement is something that has a lasting impact. And I think she's doing her part with this show and the work she's doing, and now it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that the impact is really felt across our movement and within our movement and has resonance for years to come.
Absolutely. I know when the Vanity Fair cover came out and all over Twitter, and everything just kind of exploded, and but there was a bit of, I guess you could say, controversy or outrage, I know, with the cover, and that they were focusing so much on the superficial and material aspect of it, and her looks, and people were making comments in the media rather than focusing on the accomplishments that she was making. But I've been hearing and seeing that as a lot as of late with anybody that's a celebrity, that they're focusing on the wrong things instead of accomplishments and other, important facts. What are your thoughts on why the media does that and focuses on someone, as they're not focusing on someone as a whole, and rather their outside appearance?
Yeah, I guess the nice thing is that she didn't get treated any way that, well, first of all, I think we have to presume that she was very much in control of how she was presented by Vanity Fair. So I think to assume that she was presented in a way that she didn't wish to be presented is probably a wrong assumption. I don't know that for fact. But I would imagine that she's very much in control of how her image is portrayed as she moves through this very public transition. But I guess the nice thing is that it kind of shines a light on the fact that all too often women in general are portrayed that way by the media, and so it raises all kinds of questions that I don't know that we're going to answer today. But I do think that that the opportunity that Vanity Fair gave Catilyn to, for the first time, introduce herself to America and the world the way she saw herself and the way she wanted to be seen is very important. And she actually addressed that a little bit on a couple of the episodes. So I think she was presented the way she wished to be presented, and people can agree or disagree with that, but that's all a part of being able to be your authentic self, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I do remember her discussing that in one or two of the episodes. It was quite a discussion as far as the article and things like that. Jumping to obviously a subject that's related, of course, there still obviously is a great deal of hatred, as we mentioned earlier, and bullying that takes place. Acceptance still seems, we still have work to do. It still seems very far for some.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which makes the fight, like I said, far from over. And, we want to lower suicide rates and get, people off the streets and youth, and just really, keep striving towards equality. What are some issues that you feel that we still are going to have to face, or new ones that might arise, in your opinion?
Well, I think the first one we can talk about is bullying, because that's what you work on, right? And so it's really great that we're doing this interview right now, because next week we will launch our 6th annual Spirit Day campaign here at GLAAD, and that's the day in October every year when the world turns purple in a stand with LGBT youth and against bullying. And I think, you know, I was fortunate enough to do an event up in the Bronx last week with WWE and Do Something and Facebook, and we asked the kids at this Boys and Girls Club to raise their hand if they had been bullied, and nearly every hand in the room went up. So it's a universal thing. Everyone feels bullied at one point or another in their life, but it's particularly bad for LGBT youth. 8 out of 10 of whom report being bullied before leaving high school. And all too often we know that results in violence and even more too often in suicide. And so I think we have to address that not only in this country but around the world. It's a universal issue, so that's really important. And it really goes to a lack of acceptance. People don't bully people who they accept and love for who they are. And so I think that really is the frontier for us as a movement as we move beyond marriage and employment protections and all of the laws and policies that we know have to be in place. We really have to work on the hearts and minds. And so I think whether it's homelessness, whether it's suicide, whether it's addiction, whether it's access to quality health care and all the things that go along and are challenges for way too many of us in the LGBT community, so much of it boils down to love and acceptance. And if we can just make sure that Americans and people around the world, no matter who they are loved and accepted, that a lot of these things will fall away. So I think that's the big bucket that I think we have to fill as a movement.
Yeah, I know Spirit Day is coming. I remember, I believe it was last year, I actually did an interview with Brittany.
Oh, Brittany McMillan.
Yes.
Student. If
yes.
you don't know, she's a Canadian student actually who 5 years ago, nearly 6 years ago now, founded Spirit Day because she wanted to do something in her community. She had seen the suicide of Tyler Clementi and the epidemic of suicides that seemed to just be so prevalent during just a few months of time in the media a few years ago, and wanted to do something. So she got all of her friends to wear purple, and it eventually took off, and GLAAD got involved, and we still work with her every year to execute Spirit Day and to bring awareness to it. So she's definitely a change maker.
Yeah.
I bet that was a great interview.
Yeah, I enjoyed speaking with her. She's great, and it was a wonderful interview, and she's very sweet and so hardworking and dedicated to the cause. Really an amazing girl, and I love to see people getting involved, young people and of all ages getting involved and really making a huge difference. And I mean, of course, we deal at BKO, we do bullying, cyberbullying, LGBT equality, suicide awareness, domestic violence, addiction. And, you know, it's all related to bullying in some form, whether it's getting bullied by others or self-bullying, because I think that we don't realize how much we self-bully as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being in those situations.
Yeah. And let me just do a shameless promo. So we'll launch the website next week, but for your viewers who want to participate in Spirit Day, the website is the same as it has been before. It's www.glaad.org/spiritday. You can take the pledge to go purple. There are lots of ways that you can get involved, not only in going purple on Spirit Day, which is October 15th this year, but really downloading and utilizing resource kits so that you can engage your community, your family, the news media, your school, all kinds of ways to get involved and help fight bullying. So we're excited about it once again.
Yeah, I definitely always, I tweet all the information because obviously I get involved myself. I go purple, I post the pictures, and BKO gets involved in all that, and I always send it to my followers, supporters, and give them all the information to get involved and do as much as I can.
Thank you.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Besides Spirit Day, and I know we've talked about it a little bit, what are some other, do you have any new, other future projects that you're going to be working on that you could talk about, or anything new?
Absolutely. We are working around the clock at GLAAD, as always, working to leverage the media to accelerate acceptance for the LGBT community. That's our mission. And in just about 7 days now, I think, we will release our 9th annual network response Responsibility Index, and that's an annual report that takes a look at how television is doing when it comes to the quantity and the quality of LGBT portrayals. And I can tell you that we've come such a long way in 9 years since we started this report, but we have a long way to go, as you and your viewers know. So you can look for that coming up. Spirit Day is October 15th. We'll be doing a lot of work in November around Trans Day of Remembrance and Trans Week of Awareness. So we've got an activity or an event to be involved in all the time here at GLAAD. So I would encourage folks to visit our website and stay up to date and join our email list.
That's amazing. I went to last year. I went to Trans Day of Remembrance in New York.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, I was there and hearing them speak, and I believe someone from GLAAD was there, and yeah, it was a beautiful event.
Fantastic. And this year we will be once again releasing a report on transgender images in the media, and we've come obviously such a long way with Laverne Cox and Janet Mock and Orange is the New Black and all of this amazing entertainment and reality programming and awareness around the trans community, but we've only scratched the surface and have so much more to do.
Absolutely. We certainly do. I say that all the time. And yes, those Janet Mock, Laverne Cox, Orange is the New Black, I mean, great portrayals, amazing individuals, just such a, idols for so many people that they look up to for support and admiration and, hope to get, for people who are still struggling and lost, which brings me to one final thought I would like to get your thoughts on. I know you also do, of course, public speaking, and you go around talking and whatnot. What is some advice that you give to those out there that are lost, that are struggling, that might be homeless, that need to come out to their parents, or anything involving the subject, whether it's bullying or anything of that in that arena?
Yeah, I love the campaign It Gets Better, and I think that's a great message, but I think an even better message is that you can make it better right now. You don't have to wait for life to get better, and there are people who will support you. There are resources out there in your communities, online, at GLAAD, and if you reach out to GLAAD and it's not something we do directly, we will get you in touch with someone who can help you, because it really is all about saving lives. Unfortunately, way too often it can boil down to saving a life. And so we're here at GLAAD. There are lots of other organizations like Listen, the Trevor Project that we work closely with, and so it does get better. It got better for me, but you have a lot at your disposal that many of us didn't have 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and you can be a part of making it better in your life right now.
Excellent. Yeah, it's so true that, I know when I was younger, there wasn't all these resources for bullying, and social media obviously wasn't as big and prevalent.
Oh, right? What I would have done if there had been Facebook and Twitter when I was 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, it's true. There's so much that's happened, and so many advances, and there's so many, sadly, there's so many new ways for people to attack and bully and go after people. But I still think that we've also come a long way, even though there's still a fight to be fought. We still come a long way, like you said, and there's hope, and there's so many resources, especially like your organization, GLAAD, and so many others out there. And again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule and talking with me today.
Thank you, and thank you, Dana, for all you do and for getting the word out. We love your organization and the work that you're doing, so keep it up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
All right.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoy this interview with Zeke Stokes, Vice President of GLAAD. Please check out the website and all the things that they have coming up, and we will see you soon. Take care, be kind, and love big.